What is up, you guys? Welcome back to our channel.
And as time goes by, I know I'm in a better place. I'm in a better place.
Today we're filming our birth story of everything that happened during the birth, after the birth.
We have Baby Harbor here with us because he's just loves to be in front of the camera, and so he was like, "Moms, please let me be in it." And so we said, "Okay, fine, you're just so cute, we'll let you." I almost told Abbie to just do this herself because it's like her birth story.
Okay, but the problem is the things that happened after birth made it so that I don't remember a lot of what happened.
Yeah. Like,
So-
even the birth vlog, like, when she was watching it, she was like, "I don't remember some of this."
Like, everything just like went over my head. We'll get all into it. There's so much that happened. Honestly, it's so traumatic. So if you're triggered by anything that's medical or you have like health anxiety, probably not the best.
Or if you're pregnant and you have birth anxiety, because
do not watch this video.
if you watched this while you were pregnant,
Yeah.
you would have been very triggered by it.
So don't watch
anyway.
this if you are in that situation, but let's go ahead and get on into it.
So if you guys watched the name reveal, you know that one of Harbor's middle names is Nicholas. That's named after Abbie's uncle.
Yes.
Uncle Nick. He passed away several years ago. Throughout this pregnancy and this birth, well, really since Nick died, I feel like you've had him around some of the time.
Right.
Don't you think?
But it became very significant like right before I went into labor, like those first couple of days.
So we had some fairy lights that we strung above the window one night just to try and have a little vibe.
Yes.
And it was battery powered, and the batteries were almost gonna die, but I was like, whatever, I'll string them anyway. So I put them up there, and then they died, and then they turned back on. And then they kept dying and turning back on, and Abbie thought that I was like replacing the battery.
Yeah,
and
I thought
turning
she
it
was
off.
being really nice in the middle of the night and like wanted to make like an ambiance at night, and so I just thought you were being like cute and turning them on for me. But I took them down and I turned them on and off, and they weren't turning on. They were just staying dead because the
Right.
batteries were dead. So I turned it in the on position, it was off, and I set them on the table, and at 3 a.m. I woke up and they were on.
And then I woke up 2 hours later at 5 a.m. and they were still on. I even have a picture. I'll put the picture up
we'll
here.
Put the pictures.
And then at one point I was sitting in the bathroom and I had a can of beer sitting on the counter, and then all of a sudden it just like turned.
My Uncle Nick was a beer drinker, so it's like...
Yeah, so that being said, I do think that throughout this whole thing, Nick was here. I think he was excited that Harbor was coming. Harbor is going to be named after him.
Yeah.
And I think that that was one thing that kind of helped us throughout the whole thing. Also, we have talked about this before. We met with a psychic. We were very traumatized by it because she said everything's going to go wrong. These are all like the most like traumatic cards that she could have drawn, that she drew for the tarot cards.
And everything that she said would happen happened.
She said you'll probably have a C-section. She
Which
said
I
you're going to
did.
need medical intervention.
Which I did.
You're going to need medical help for Harbor.
Which we did.
Everything she said happened, and we were like, she's a kook. She shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Nope, she was completely right. And so I feel bad because we were talking smack on her in one of our videos,
Yeah,
but
so-
we were wrong.
Okay, so going into labor, I went into labor probably like 2 days after all that weird stuff was happening. I went in and out of labor for like 4 days. I started having contractions and they were like light. And then the actual day that I went into labor, I was standing in the bathroom and I felt a really tight contraction. And then I felt something leak down there and I thought maybe I just pee-peed myself. But I checked and it definitely was not coming from there.
So we're like, okay, your water broke.
I'm in labor.
Thank goodness, because you
Finally
were...
happening.
The whole night before, you had had back labor. The day before that, it was like all day. So it was like maybe 15 minutes apart for 2 days before that happened.
So I was in labor for a hot minute, guys.
Right.
But at this point, they started to come like 2 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And so I was freaking out. So I was like, oh my gosh, this baby is like gonna come now. Like, that didn't happen.
We called the midwife. She came over. She had checked the day before her dilation and she was 4.5 centimeters. She checked again and she was 5 centimeters,
Right.
according to her. And so we were really disappointed. Obviously, if you guys watched our birth story or birth vlog, you saw all of that.
You can kind of see like the tension in the room too and just like the disappointment. But I still labored. I got in the bath and things kind of slowed down, like when I would get in the bath or like certain positions or things like that. But the back pain was literally so excruciating. Like, I cannot even explain to you anything more painful than that. It literally feels like someone is drilling something into like the back, like dimples of your back. That's how it feels.
And it's hard because I felt like helpless throughout it
Right.
all because we didn't really know what was going on. We were confused because she had been in and out of labor. It didn't make any sense. We have never heard of that happening to someone before.
Right.
We didn't know why it was happening.
And they would be like 15 minutes apart, and then 10 minutes apart, and then 2 minutes apart, and then 1 minute apart, and then 3 minutes apart. They were just so chaotic and crazy.
Right.
It got to the point where I literally could not do it anymore. There was a time where Julia was sleeping, and I went into the bath, and I literally was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I have to go to the hospital. Something's not right. And I feel like I just had a gut feeling in my stomach that, like, this is not how labor's supposed to be. Like, labor's supposed to be, like, specific waves that you're feeling or contractions, and there's specific times, and they're stopping and starting. Sometimes the back pain would last for like 5 minutes, or it would last like 30 seconds. It just was not right.
Yeah. And that's why we weren't filming for so long. Like, I think a lot of people were confused because we had said before all this that we were going to keep you guys so updated, and throughout all of it, we're going to post a video right when she goes into labor. But it was so erratic, and we had no idea what was going on. We didn't know if it was even real or not. So there was a couple times where we picked up the camera and we started filming the intro to the birth vlog. I'd say like 2 times before the actual birth vlog
But then
started.
things would just slow down, and then they would pick up, and we were just like, it was just so confusing.
And so we didn't want to do it again when it wasn't like actually going to happen, and just have it be like a 5-day long birth vlog, you know? So after it had been going on for so long, Abbie hadn't slept.
I also hadn't eaten in like 3 days, like maybe like some crackers and some water.
Because of all the pain and everything you were going through for those days. So now it's like 5 a.m. or something like that, right? I slept for, what would you say, an hour?
Yeah, an hour or 2,
For a short period of time. I accidentally fell asleep. I was trying not to fall asleep because I wanted to be there
I was
with her.
trying not to wake her up, but the pain was so bad, like I couldn't like not like make sounds through them.
Yeah. So the midwife checks her again at 5 a.m. and she hasn't progressed.
At all.
So it gets to this point where it's like, something's wrong. We have to go to the hospital, you know?
Yeah.
This can't keep going on. We
And
didn't
if
really
you know,
understand it,
like,
but-
this was my biggest fear, was going to the hospital, and I literally did not have that fear, like, in the moment of deciding, like, this isn't right. Like, I was literally like, I need to get to the hospital now. And even when we were, like, packing and you were getting the car, like, set up, I was like, we need to get there now. Like, something is not right. I can feel it in my gut. Like, this pain is not right, sis.
If you watch our old videos, she's talked about how this is such a big fear of hers.
Yeah.
She's so afraid
But
of
that
that.
fear went out the window.
Out the window, yeah.
Literally
Because it
did not
was-
care. I just wanted to get there and get help. When we got to the hospital, that is all in the birth vlog. So if you want to know what happened in the hospital, basically we went there. I got the epidural. The epidural failed like 3 times. I had to re-get it put in. His heart rate was dropping. I got a C-section. Yada, yada, yada. So if you want to know everything that happened,
It's very
there.
clear in the birth vlog.
Yeah.
I want to go over it again if you guys have already seen
Yeah,
it.
so go watch it. We'll link it below. But then after birth is where shit hits the fan. We have the baby, and we think, okay, we had the baby.
It's all over.
Had the C-section. I can breathe. That didn't happen.
Nope.
This is where a lot of the time I don't remember. I went in, what is it called, like critical condition. I went into like critical condition, and my brain was not getting enough oxygen because I didn't have enough blood in my body, and I think that caused me to not remember a lot that happened.
Basically, everything seemed to be going fine. So then we went to bed.
It's
the
when
next
we woke
morning,
up the next morning, I think.
Abbie, her face was different.
My face was really, really swollen, which does happen after a C-section, but it was swollen to the point where, like, I couldn't, like, see very well, and I thought it was, like, my contacts, but, like, I was seeing double of the nurses, and I thought that it was the drugs that I was on, because they do give you, like, pain relief.
And the color of her skin, like, she's a pale person, right?
Yeah.
But it was, like, sheet white, like, the color of
And
this.
almost yellow. It was very yellow.
And it wasn't just her face, it was her whole body that was like that. It was just something very, very off. And I remember I said to her that day, I said, are you okay? You know, and I knew that we had just been through this crazy thing, right? C-section, everything, all of our worst fears had happened.
We were tired.
And so I thought maybe she's just, like, anxious about the whole thing. But something was off. Usually when she's anxious, she talks to me about it. It just seemed like something wasn't clicking right. And so, are you okay? Like, you just seem off. And she was like, yeah, I'm fine. I feel great.
Which I don't remember her ever asking this. When she talked about it, I was like, you didn't say that. I have no recollection of that at all.
Yeah.
I have, like, some, like, I can remember bits and pieces when Julia's mom came to visit us in the hospital, and I think that's kind of what started everything. Was Julia's mom also noticed, like, I do not look right. Like, this is not how I usually look. This isn't how I usually act.
She called me after she left, and she said, I didn't want to worry Abbie while I was there, but something seems wrong.
Right.
You know, you should talk to the nurses about how her coloring is really off. because there are things that could have gone wrong during the C-section.
Right.
And my mom's a nurse practitioner, so she was like, I know of a couple
She knows
things that could be
things,
wrong.
yeah.
And so I went and I talked to the head nurse about it. She said that they were planning on doing some more tests the next day. Then she came in. Do you remember she asked you if you wanted to do it that day?
No.
She knew that I could see that I was worried, so she came in and she asked Abbie if she wanted to do the tests that day instead, and Abbie said she didn't want to.
I didn't think anything was wrong, apparently.
Right. I wish that we had,
Yeah.
because I think that less problems would have happened if we
Yeah.
did, but...
I had already
There's-
hemorrhaged before all of this,
Yeah, and you-
which the nurses didn't tell the doctor,
Right.
which later on the doctor was upset that he didn't know that happened. When you stand up for the first time to go to the bathroom after they take your catheter out after you have the C-section, the nurses help you change your pad and everything, and Julia said she saw what came out of me, and it was awful, so much blood. You shouldn't lose that much blood.
It was the whole hospital bed had this padding underneath it, to soak it all up, and it was all just soaked in blood.
And they make you wear a thick diaper after, so
Right.
it's it was a lot.
It would really come out.
Yeah, what happened after that?
We went to sleep. Woke up the next day at
I
5
had my blood
a.m.
work.
And to get the blood work done, and then we went back to sleep after the blood work was done, because that was at 5 a.m. and we were just tired. And then we woke up again to the head nurse coming in saying that it was really bad, and
I
they
was
need to check it
basically
again.
being rushed to an emergency ultrasound.
Right.
And it was 7 a.m. and we were tired.
It was startling because we didn't expect
And
any
they
of
didn't
it.
say really why. They just said that I need to go down to this
Yeah.
ultrasound, and
She was in critical condition, and there was a bunch of nurses that were in there, and they were all talking on their little walkie-talkies about
Yeah.
it. She gets rushed to this ultrasound. We didn't know what was going on. The guy had the little ultrasound over her belly, and I remember the ultrasound screen just had all these colors on it. I've never
Really?
seen an ultrasound that wasn't for a baby before, and it looked like that, but it was very colorful. Inside of her
I couldn't
uterus,
see the
there was,
screen.
flashing lights all inside of it, and I remember thinking, that doesn't look right.
well, and I remember his face too, because I was so anxious, what is going on? I have no idea. I remember trying to read his face.
Yeah.
And I asked at one point, I remember saying what is going on? Do you see something? And he just said, oh, I see a little bit of a blood clot in your uterus.
Yeah.
And that's all he said, and then he wheeled me back up to labor and delivery.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, that doesn't sound that bad.
Well, and so then after that, the doctor came in.
The doctor that did my C-section.
Yes. And he's great.
Yeah, he was awesome.
It was everything we could have wanted. I overheard him talking to the nurses and looking at her blood work on the computer, and he was getting upset. He was saying, I should have been told about this. Why was I not told about this amount of blood loss? Oh, he was also upset that they hadn't done her blood work the day before.
Right.
I had said, well, it was probably because Abbie said no, honestly.
Well, I don't know. No one told me that
Right.
I was acting weird, and I didn't know.
I think we just didn't want to freak you out, but...
Yeah.
So he said, at that point, he told Abbie, I need you to not eat or drink anything.
Yeah.
And that was when I got really freaked out, because
Because
that's
that
what they
means,
tell people
you
before
might need surgery.
Right.
So then I was freaking out, they're going to open me back up.
We're kind of panicking a little bit, and then he looked at some more blood work or something. He comes back in and he said, I'm going to need to manually remove these blood clots.
Which, a lot of you guys, when you found out what happened, messaged me and said that you also had blood clots after delivery. And usually they send you for a D&C, which I think you get after you have a miscarriage. I think they go up there and they actually put you to sleep, because it's so, it's like a medical procedure. They go all the way up through you and into your uterus or wherever the freak. Most people are put to sleep for
Right.
this, and
Yeah.
I was not.
I think it's just because it was so urgent.
Yeah.
He just wanted
I think
to
he
do
just
it
wanted
himself.
to get them out, now.
Yeah.
So there were two nurses that basically pinned me down to the bed, and he stuck his whole hand to his elbow into my uterus and manually got them out himself.
Was scraping basically the inside of her cervix, not her uterus, and pushing down where the incision was on her
Cervix, uterus.
C-section. She's pushing down where the incision was on her C-section.
Which, if you just had surgery, does not feel good.
Right. Based off the ultrasound pictures, I guess, kind of knew where most of them were, and he just kind of scraped the inside of her entire cervix and then pulled them out, so you kept going in and out, pulling out, and I kid you not when I tell you, it was probably this much blood that ended up coming out, and it looked like Jello. It didn't look right, because they were such a huge clots.
This is so disgusting.
Like I said, my mom is a nurse practitioner, and so she used to work in labor and delivery. so she told me afterwards that she's seen that been done a couple times in the same way that it was done with Abbie. And she said it is by far the most barbaric thing that she has ever had to watch. The first time she saw it, it was a midwife that had done it, and she didn't know like exactly what was going on. And she said she almost reported that midwife for malpractice after, because she thought it was so horrible to see. The one that she had seen, the woman was just screaming bloody murder and just thrashing and trying to get out, and just, you know, as the midwife is just scraping inside.
I don't even remember if I was screaming. I feel like I was yelling the F word or something.
No,
I don't even
you
know.
were so calm, and the nurses said they'd never seen anything like it.
I
And I
remember
could tell that you were in a lot of pain because I know you.
You waking up? This is all the bad things you put me through. Anyway, that was what happened after that, and I was literally terrified that I was gonna get the blood clots again, and I was like so anxious. After that, then I lost more blood because of the blood clots that they did the blood work again, and my blood count was still super low. So then I had to get a blood transfusion. That's where I actually started remembering things, because then I think I got more blood and I started feeling more normal.
So after that, when they checked her blood work again, it had gone up a little bit. So they said, okay, clearly it's working. But like nurses that would come in from the next shift afterwards would be like, I heard what happened to you. Like,
I know.
That sounds insane. And they would start talking about it, and I would be like, don't tell me.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm literally traumatized. It even has taken me like this 2 weeks to be like, okay, I think I can sit down and talk about it. Because even like my family was texting me and like asking me, because obviously like they were worried, and I had to text them and be like, listen, things aren't good right now, but I can't, like, I can't talk about it. Like, we just need to move past it, and I'll keep you updated, and we'll worry about it later. But now I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay to talk about it. I did have a dream that a surgeon was chasing me with a knife the other night. So maybe I have a little bit of PTSD going on. And I'll forever have PTSD about the doctor's hands, because he's not a small dude.
He was a large man. He had big hands.
Yeah. And I didn't have a vaginal delivery, so...
And that wasn't the first time he put his hands up her. Because if you guys watched the birth vlog, you saw he tried to move Harper's head.
Yeah, manually move his head. So just, this doctor was trying to manually do everything up there.
This boy was trying to come out ear first. He was like this in the birth canal.
Yeah.
You little silly goose.
Which that felt even crazy too, because my epidural wasn't working at that point. Anyway, that's what happened. After the blood transfusion though, the blood clots did not come back. Things were looking up. We finally got sent home after a couple days. During that time, I wasn't really able to feed him very much, so they had to give him donor milk.
So that was another whole ordeal. That was something that was really important to Abbie, is breastfeeding.
Right.
And I also wanted to breastfeed too, right?
She was inducing her lactation my whole pregnancy.
And it was not easy.
It was hard.
It was a whole ordeal, and it was something that I really, really wanted.
Because our plan was I would birth in the water at home, and then he would latch onto me, and then after he's latches onto me, he could latch onto Julia. But then this whole time, everything was happening. Like, we were so scared and didn't know what to do. She wasn't able to pump, and then I wasn't even able to latch him.
And there was a lactation consultant that was at the hospital, and she said, with everything that's happened, you need to focus on his nutrition first and foremost.
Because he was also very small.
And she said, I would not do that right now.
Yeah.
She thought it was a great idea. She like printed off some articles for us, like, to read, because she thought it was great.
Right.
But she said, you know, like, his health is the most important thing, and if you don't want to do formula, you need to really focus on your lactation being induced.
Right.
And because it's hard to get breast milk when you don't have blood.
Yeah. It's been still hard. I still don't have a lot of blood. I'm 2 weeks postpartum, and I still do get lightheaded and dizzy when I stand up. And I think it's just going to be like weeks until my supply is like up there again.
Yeah. So during this time, Harper was pretty much healthy throughout the whole thing, right? He was spitting up some amniotic fluid with meconium in it, but they said that that's fine. He's just getting it out of his system. And he had to get, was it called when you put the tube down their throat?
Yeah, like suctioned or something.
He had to get suctioned afterwards because
he pooped in the womb.
He pooped in there.
Yeah, he pooped inside of me.
It had like irritated his esophagus or something.
Yeah.
So
it was kind of like blood.
So
it was really scary.
Yeah. But they said it was fine. They said just watch out for if it's bright red, because then it could be an issue.
Yeah.
After was it the same day? It was the next day after the blood clot removal. Harper had coughed, and so I went over there to clean up like any mess that he had made, and I saw there was some bright red blood.
Oh yeah.
And I immediately called the nurses in, and they said, okay, we're gonna just take him back to the nursery and just take a look at him. And I broke down.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's when we were just like, we felt like we wanted to give up.
like, there was, what could possibly also go wrong?
Yeah.
Like, what if I was freaking out because I was already so worried about my wife and is she gonna be okay? Now what if he isn't okay too on top of
Yeah.
it? And so I was sobbing, and the nurse comes in while I was sobbing
And is like, oh, are you okay?
and she had to comfort me, and she was like patting my back, it's gonna be okay. And then turns out it was snot. He had had some snot come out as he got. So he
We
was
were
fine.
just tired. We hadn't slept this entire time.
Yeah, I think it's just a testament to like how like stressed out we were because
Yeah.
really it had been days since we had a good night's sleep,
And then we weren't like eating because you were not eating because you were stressed out. I wasn't eating because then they thought maybe I needed surgery again.
sometimes I just wake up in the night and I just have to check both of them to make sure they're still breathing. 'Cause I'm just so worried about, you know, my family.
We're good now. We made it out alive.
I feel like that was a bunch
That's
of
all
negative
that
stuff.
matters.
I don't mean to that's just how it was though.
Yeah.
There's nothing else we can do, and it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that it wasn't like exactly what we wanted because everything.
It
did
was the
turn out
exact
okay in the end.
opposite of a home water birth.
Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, that's fine.
And we're doing everything we can to keep everything the way that we want it to be. Abbie's been working so hard to make sure that she can breastfeed, and you know I'm trying to do everything I can to support her. Harbor's doing a great job of supporting her with that too.
Yes, he is. He just said he would.
So everything it's all turning out okay now.
I'm healing good, I think. I have an appointment tomorrow where I think they'll check my blood levels again. But my incision is feeling really good. I haven't had anything bad happen.
Your face looks normal again.
My face is normal, guys. I wish there's a picture, but I'm so embarrassed to post it because I look like so crazy.
You should post it.
I had no color in my lips. Like, I looked dead. So if you ever wonder what I'll look like when I die, this is pretty much it because I was borderline dead. My brain wasn't working.
That was another thing my mom said is with the amount of blood loss she had,
Your brain can't function.
your brain can't function.
But I think that's pretty much it for everything that happened. If you saw how Julia posted, like, that things were not good in the hospital and you were wondering what went on, that is what happened. But we are doing good now, and things are okay, and I'm feeling okay. I'm actually feeling really good. Follow us on Instagram if you want to see cute pictures of little Harbor boy. Bye, guys!
I love you. Subscribe.
I forgot to mention, one of the other traumatizing things that happened to me is I had to have the nurses roll me over and stick 5 pills up my booty hole. So that was also
I don't
traumatizing.
remember why they did that. Was it for fun?
No, it was after the blood clots. They had to make my uterus contract all of the rest of the stuff out.
Oh. And they had to do that in your butthole? For what? That sounds like an excuse to just get in your butthole.
You should call the nurses. They're trying to hit on me!